2, 3. Welcome, everybody, to Corner 3 Fan Bites, dopest basketball podcast on the planet. What's going on? I hope you're all doing well. Hope everything is going well in your world. I hope you're washing your hands, washing your butt, making sure everything is okay in the world where you are. I am one of your hosts, Khalif Adams. I am joined by the two most magical, mystical folks on the planet. Nikki Dunkaroos Grayson, how are you doing, sir?
I'm trapped in an orange room, and I need help.
John Technical Foul Warren, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, I got teed up for yelling at my own teammate, so
That's okay. We'll take it back.
Take that back. Okay, good.
Yeah, we'll take it back, but we will still remove you from the game, affecting the outcome of it.
Yeah. I think at this point, you know, how many T's does John have is like we're still trying to battle out if it's you or Draymond.
I'm trying to catch up with Draymond.
Draymond sneezes on people now and gets technicals at this point. It's just like
he yelled at James Wiseman and the rest of them out of the game. It's like when do y'all remember when Tim Duncan laughed at a referee and got thrown out of the game on the bench?
On the bench?
Like
yes,
he was on the bench. He laughed at what's his face, the worst referee on earth. And he threw him out of the game. It was as a Mavs fan, best day of my life, but it's not fair.
I mean, it is very, very indicative of the world that we live in. It feels like he was being silenced by the referees for enjoying his life. We have a really good show. Thank you to everybody who listened to our previous episode. Episode 1 was a banger. I think a lot of folks were surprised that we were going to do a show like this, but also completely delighted in that surprise to see that we were doing a basketball related podcast. So again, thank you everybody for checking that out. And if you haven't, please, it should be up on all podcast platforms now at this point. So please go leave us a review, a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts. And please let us know how you like the show and other stuff that we can add to it to make it a little bit better for all of you at home. This week, we talked last week about James Harden, if you want him to be on your team. This week, we're going to be talking a little bit about one of our favorite new upstarts, the Cleveland Cavaliers, which I didn't think I was going to say that at the beginning of the NBA season this year. One of our favorite upstarts, the Cleveland Cavs. The story around what they've been able to do so far has been pretty interesting. I think that the energy that they're bringing to the league is something that's been needed. I'm really curious to hear. I know, John, you had some thoughts about kind of where everything's kind of moving for them, and some thoughts about just what the Cavs are up to.
Yeah, I mean, the Cavs are an interesting team because, I mean, they're still anchored in a lot of ways by Kevin Love, who is injured right now. And they've also got Andre Drummond, who is a perennial defensive player of the year candidate. He also plays with shorts that are 2 to 3 inches shorter than everyone else's, which is like, honestly,
he needs the leg room.
That's great. Yeah, like I need more players with like John Stockton, length shorts. Like it's time to bring that back, I feel like. So like, whenever you have a front court that's like that, you're probably in the conversation most games. But that young backcourt, Darius Garland and Colin Sexton, has been scrutinized a lot because like I think they had a lot of hype coming out of college and a lot of expectations, and like I don't think they've totally got there yet, especially in the wake of Kyrie Irving leaving and just Cleveland being kind of a mess without LeBron. But Colin Sexton this year looks good to me. The first time the 3 superstar Brooklyn Nets took the court, they got taken 2 OT with Cleveland, and Colin Sexton dropped 42 on him. Like that's big.
Is that a lot? And is that good?
A lot of points. And I was looking at his stat line earlier. So if you look at Colin Sexton, he's got career highs. He's only been in the league for 3 years. He's 22. He's got career highs in assists and steals, but points is where it's crazy because he jumped from 20 to 27 average. So like
it's a big jump for a 22-year-old.
That's a really big jump for a 22-year-old. So like I'm excited. I mean, I don't know. Am I really excited about what Cleveland's doing? Not really, because like it's Cleveland. But like I'm like, it's interesting at least. That Central Division in the East is like not that interesting. I mean, the Bucks kind of have that open and shut, I feel like, but Cleveland being maybe a dark horse to get that like 8th, 7th seed maybe is like not out of the realm. So like that's kind of an exciting thing for that town.
Yeah, I'm probably thinking right now, if we think about forecasting where we'll see things kind of end around All-Star break, that's when we'll really kind of understand what Cleveland is going to kind of bring to the table. My Knicks are doing something.
The Knicks are good.
The Knicks.
I'm going to say it right here. The Knicks are good, actually.
Yeah,
I think the Knicks are going to be the 3 seed.
What?
I say it right now.
Whoa,
the Knicks are going to be the 3 seed.
Whoa.
That's right. I'm saying it. Knicks are the 3 seed.
What?
You just absolutely tanked the rest of their season.
What in the JaVale McGee did you just say?
The New York Knicks are going to be the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference this year.
If the Knicks become the 3rd seed...
We already know the audio pull quote. For the
seriously. That's going to be the thing that goes on social immediately. If the Knicks get to the 3rd slot this year, I will go out in all of COVID happening and find someone to give me a high top fade weave. I will do it.
Yeah, do it.
I will do it. Good. I will pay the money.
I will not do anything as a result of losing this bet. I promise you that.
To look like Skywalker Williams from the 87 Knicks, I will go put on some hair.
Let's just look at the East. Let's just look at the East.
Yeah.
Okay. NBA Eastern Conference.
While you're pulling up some stats there, I think one of the interesting parts about that initial kind of breakout game for Sexton was he really did take Kyrie to the bucket a bunch of times, which we would not expect to be a thing for a kind of younger player to be able to go up against a veteran that way and have that wherewithal to be able to kind of come through in double overtime, dropping, what was it, 48 you said, or 42?
42, yeah.
42. I mean, I think when you think about the young bucks in the league, and we'll talk a little bit about kind of, the overall rookie conversation in a minute, but I think when you think of a player like Sexton, now maybe even winding up becoming the leader of that team until Kevin Love comes back. That's also a really interesting story to kind of dig into from an NBA perspective of just saying, like, young players coming into their own really early for teams that are not necessarily going to get a whole bunch of love around the league.
Especially considering it feels like the narrative around Cleveland was there's going to be this weird not like a power and leadership vacuum because they're not going to have, like, LeBron's not there, Kyrie's not there, Kevin Love can only do so much for these shooters, basically. Like, this, I think, is a testament to the coaching staff in Cleveland that these players are trying to pop off like this. Now, I did say that just a couple of seconds ago, just a few moments ago, if we can run the tape back, you will hear me say that the New York Knicks would be the 3 seed.
Yeah, they got some climbing to do.
They're only a game and a half behind.
You're right. They're only a game and a half behind. You're right.
They're on
but I don't think they're better than the Pacers. So
I don't think they're better.
Who's on the Pacers now that Oladipo left?
Nobody. Domantas Sabonis.
But Sabonis is, like, legit now. Domantas Sabonis is finally becoming a player that, first of all, long, like, fluffy hair. It's weird that his hair looks like mine. So he'll be playing and it's just kind of fluffy. But he's pretty good. I'll say this about Cleveland real quick before we talk about the rest of the East.
Yeah,
they remind me a little bit of D'Angelo Russell's Nets, if you remember that.
It was a fun team.
So D'Angelo Russell really became kind of the leader of that team, of that Nets team, and his ascent reminds me a little bit of what we're seeing with Colin Sexton right now. A little bit of a leadership vacuum, a similar skill set. Good scorer, can get to the cup, not a bad passer, although that part of his game is not super refined. The problem with D'Angelo Russell is that he got traded out of that situation, and now he's just being kind of shuffled around. He's there in Minnesota. I don't know. Is he a key component of that rebuild? Maybe, kind of, sort of. He seems like a good guy, but, like, I don't know.
It's weird because that Minnesota rebuild was, like, hinging, the quotes over here, was hinging on Devin Booker not liking Phoenix, because then the which is wild, but, like, that's what it was. Minnesota was banking on Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell being able to get Devin Booker out of Phoenix
Right.
Which is like, sure, like it's worked before, but also Phoenix good now.
Yeah, Phoenix good now.
Yeah.
Well, good. Phoenix good now. But like
ish.
Devin Booker likes playing in Phoenix, so
Right.
he's not going to leave. So
that
Minnesota team is in a weird spot. Exactly. Yeah.
The interesting part of this conversation too, from an Andre Drummond perspective, which I think is also one of the kind of linchpins in that squad, is seeing just how far he's going to go and hopefully not get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Taurian Prince, which we had the Taurian Prince conversation right before the show, just being like, Taurian Prince. I
mean, they got some issues, right? I mean, they got some issues. That Kevin Porter Jr., 2019 draft pick, just came out this week that he was super mad that his locker was moved out of the main locker room because he just hasn't really been playing and been replaced with Taurian Prince's, which and he got so mad about Taurian Prince that he got traded to Houston. So it was I would love to get so mad about
that's a
Taurian
win for
Prince.
him, honestly.
I agree with you. I think it's a win because now he gets a chance to go to Houston and probably play in a kind of a growing weird hodgepodge of a team that seems to be.
And it's just a better city.
And I mean, he doesn't have to get dressed in the parking garage now, so that helps him out too. Which is nice.
They let him use the regular bathroom.
He has to like sneak in with Gatorade for other players to get back into the locker room at this point, which is wild.
You were talking about Taurian Prince. Sorry.
I mean, there isn't really much to talk about Taurian Prince, to be fair. But I think that the other part of that whole squad that I think is actually really interesting to see is from a potential decent player to someone who kind of fell off really hard was Larry Nance Jr. too.
Yeah.
Which he fell off super hard, which I thought he had a fairly good run with the Lakers. I thought he was doing pretty well. I think he was playing really hard. He still has that weird kind of in-between game where he doesn't know. He's like, I don't want to ever go for rebounds, but I will dunk on you as much as I can because I want to play from the perimeter. I do wonder though, thinking about not only the way the Cavs have been playing in this kind of revamped thing around Sexton and Sexton having his Linsanity moment in the space, to what that translates to in terms of like what you said in terms of the standings, right? They're currently in let's see, in 7th place. They're at 7-7. They're a 500 team. They have a two game win streak underneath their hands. I don't know though if when you look at them in comparison to the Hawks, which have been playing fairly well, the Nets are still trying to figure out their chemistry parts of the conversation. The Pacers, with the amount of traits they had, are probably going to move down a bit. And the Bucks will probably get bumped out of the playoffs again because they just don't have the cohesion that you would want them to have yet. With the Cavs now being maybe a sleeper team alongside the Knicks, and probably seeing the Heat actually in 10th position is actually kind of weird.
They'll come back.
They'll bounce back.
They'll come back. Like,
they were without Jimmy for the first 4 or 5 games of the season.
Right. I mean, how far up do you think the Cavs will make it?
I think it's
5.
7 or 8. I really do. You really do? You think it's 5?
I think they'll get to the 5 seed.
Huh.
I think the Pacers fall to 6 or 7. I think the Heat climb their way back up to 5, but then get bounced in the first round.
Yeah, that's a reasonable call on that. I don't think of any of the other teams that are kind of like in the bottom of the league right now. Like Pistons are kind of a lost cause at this point.
Oh yeah,
I don't really see them moving up in terms of much. The Raptors are actually really interesting at 5 and 9 right now.
Yeah,
because that's a little bit unexpected for the way that they kind of have always played in the past 5-6 seasons.
Pascal Siakam just like hit a wall.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as he kind of emerged, I think a lot of folks, including myself, kind of looked at that as like, oh, that's fun. I don't know if he's like a superstar player. Like, I think he had a really interesting year and a half, and now it seems like we've really hit a wall with him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's gonna be really weird to see where that all lands for sure. I think, piggybacking off the conversation around Sexton being, this young upstart, he's had his 3 years in the league right now. But it feels like also this conversation is around the rookies this year. It feels like rookies this term around are having way more of an impact than we would have expected to. Of course, everyone is still on the LaMelo Ball train. I think everyone is kind of looking at him as the possible. I think he may even be the front runner right now for rookie of the year.
Better than Lonzo.
Better than Lonzo. I mean, that's what they should have called him. That's what he should have been named. Better than
Lonzo. I'm better than Lonzo Ball.
That would actually be so great. It's such a terrible dad thing to do that his dad would actually do.
He would do it.
Just the greater than sign Lonzo. It's like, it'd be so good.
Oh, that would be so fantastic. So in your thoughts, gents, who do you think is kind of like impressed you so far from a rookie standpoint? I think there's been a couple of folks who have really been standouts. And we're seeing that conversation kind of grow. But who are the folks you're kind of looking at right now that are giving you some encouragement in terms of like thinking they may do some work? I'm going to go to Nikki on that one first.
I really do think LaMelo Ball, I was like surprised that his game kind of immediately translated. Yeah. There was a lot of my hesitation on him was that like he wasn't going to be mature enough somehow, which is bizarre because he's played professional basketball for a long time.
Yeah.
But there was a period of time where like I watched Lonzo Ball play every single night and I was like, interesting. This is kind of like you can see the glimpses of a great player in there, but then I was like, I got so comfortable and so used to what Lonzo Ball's game looked like that I was like, it's gonna be his brother is gonna be basically the same. But coming off the bench, this dude is like good for a double-double every night, and it threatens you a triple-double every single time he plays. Yeah. And he's coming off the bench, and it's his first year in the NBA, and he's only going to get better, presumably. That's legitimately been a surprise to me.
Yeah. John, what are your thoughts about rookies of the year kind of conversation?
I think LaMelo is such an interesting case. I think that maturity thing is going to become more and more important as it becomes less and less obvious why he's coming off the bench every night.
Yeah.
Because is he really worse than like Devontae Graham in that position? Like,
no.
Like, I don't know about that. I think like to me that looks like a backcourt that should be LaMelo starting Devontae Graham at the 2, like something like that. And as much as I hate his guts, like Gordon Hayward having a pretty good season in that role, overpaid big time.
Absolutely.
But
you leave Gordon Hayward alone.
But like LaMelo Ball's instincts to pass the ball are, I mean, listen, I got Luka in Dallas, but I'll see some of those passes that LaMelo is making. I'm like, oh wow, pretty spectacular stuff. And a guy that can threaten to fill the stat sheet like that. We're only 2 years out from the last rookie that did that, and his name was Luka Doncic. And like, I think they're actually pretty similar in the sense that they can heat up with their shooting, but they're not the most consistent, and they could be more consistent. Anyway, that's a long way to say that I think the management situation in Charlotte is going to tank LaMelo Ball's chances. Instead, I think it's going to be James Wiseman who's going to start most games for Golden State and actually be the rookie of the year by the end of the year. Part of me thinks that halfway through the season, Draymond Green barking in his ear every single game about how to play defense is actually going to start to pay dividends.
Gonna work.
Because like Draymond for everybody, like a lot of people hate that guy's guts, but like as a total neutral party, I look back and I see one of the smartest dudes in the history of this league. And like, if he's the one coaching Wiseman up and Wiseman has 6.5 inches on him, whoa, like this could get really scary for folks playing against Golden State. Yeah. And we saw a little bit of that against the Lakers and things like that. So like
that game didn't happen. I don't know what you're talking about.
But
we only talk about one game behind.
One game behind. But I think it's going to be Wiseman at the end of the year. But I think if you really only take this first 14 games or whatever, I think Nikki's right. I mean, LaMelo has been, really a cut above most folks. So.
Yeah, I just want Zion to catch a goddamn ball. That's what I want him to do. Like, it feels like he's missing more shots than he's. I mean, the funny thing about that combination, which I want to be, not Zion, because he's on the Pelicans, he's on a different team. is actually that just ran around in my head about Zion just running people over and why they should actually like be in the same team together because it would make a really good team.
That'd be great. That'd be really
but
good.
Going back to LaMelo, because LaMelo's point was it's going to be really cool to see when he grows into his body, which is that first part of the first 2 seasons are always a wash when it comes to that. Yep. You always have like baby fat, and then you get grown man bodies in the next.
Yeah, they're only 14 years old when they start playing in the league. So once they, it's fucked up.
Like even Luka, I was watching a video of Luka like from 2 years ago, and it's like that dude looks 20 years younger than he does now, and I was like, wow, it really does something. It's wild.
It's all those shakes on the plane. It's like you get to have good food in your body.
It's all of that creatine.
Well, it's that, and plus it's like year 1 you have no personal chef. Year 2 you have a personal chef. Yeah, right. It's like someone is actually feeding you stuff because they're like your body needs to put on weight and you need to go knock people down and some of that stuff. I think LaMelo is going to be again one of those interesting cases, like you said, to see when he comes off the bench and starts to actually play as a starter. I think that fundamentally changes what they're going to do from a team standpoint. I also do think that then that's going to be maybe a little bit problematic because they're going to run him ragged. In those first couple of years. So I'm worried a little bit about his endurance in that respect. And again, that is one of those, like, that's the reason why you got to put on all that weight for 82 games. Emmanuel Quickly over at the Knicks, I think is actually really interesting too. Heads down baller, feels like he has not necessarily just kind of been thrown in there into the wilds. I was having a conversation earlier today about Tom Thibodeau and how Tom Thibodeau just doesn't care about your life.
Tom Thibodeau.
He may be in the running. I mean, it depends. If he can get the Knicks, if he can get the Knicks into the playoffs, they may make a statue for him.
Seed?
If they get to the 3 seed, I mean, Greg Popovich will have to hand him the trophy. He'd be like, "Yeah, you got it." So,
that just threw me off so far because this is not gonna happen. Like I know it's not gonna happen. I couldn't give as much. I couldn't sacrifice so many pigs to be able to get that kind of thing to work. But it's going to be one of those cool things of like seeing Quickly play off of Barrett, which is going to be actually pretty interesting to see, and have those two be really interesting as a backcourt front court kind of duo. Obi Toppin, I don't know if he's going to.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, what's up with him?
I just don't think he has a spot yet. It feels like he's coming in and doing good things when he's on the court, but he still has that weird, interesting part of his game where he still doesn't know where he wants to play. Does he want to be a perimeter player? Does he want to kind of, hang and bang down on the low blocks? It doesn't seem like that's his game anyway, so I feel like he's going to wind up being kind of out on the perimeter, which, again, if you have somebody who's like 6'9", 6'10", on the perimeter with a okay shot, I don't know how that works. He's not fast enough to get you off the dribble, pump fake you, and then move around you to kind of do that stuff. So he's either going to have to change his game up a little bit or he's going to have to just get a really nasty shot all the time.
Yeah. I was going to say, maybe he gains 35 pounds and becomes Sean Kemp. Like, he could. Like I don't know. Like, he can get up and like he could do that. But like, he either needs to get a shot or I don't know, start eating more. He's a weird tweener.
He's a weird tweener in that way, and this league does not like tweeners anymore. Not in that same way. There used to be a really interesting 5-year span where tweeners were the shit, and that era is kind of gone now. You either really have to be specialized in the thing that you're trying to do, or you have to have a team that doesn't have a specialty, and you can just kind of run around and do whatever you want.
He can dunk it though.
He can put the ball in the hoop
with his hands. He can put ball in hoop.
Fam has hops for sure. I guess before we kind of roll up out of here for this episode, I think one of the most interesting things that we saw kind of happen was that game with the Lakers and Golden State.
No, what are you talking about? All I want to talk about is how I'm not afraid of the Bucks.
I mean, no one's afraid of the Bucks.
We didn't even tell you we were going to go down this road, but we have to.
We have to because it has been
that decreed. I think LeBron and AD realized that they needed to play basketball in that game too late.
So
I legitimately think that's all it was. Like, it was a lack of focus.
It was the Warriors Lakers game. It was on TNT, I think, or was it on ESPN?
Yeah.
Either way, it was nationally televised. We're going into the third quarter. I mean, into the fourth quarter, and the Warriors are down like what 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
And Steph and the Warriors just kind of, what happened there, bud?
Steph Mutombo,
they just stopped.
He Mutombo waved everybody. Was like, not today.
Like they just didn't play basketball, which is like fine. It's the regular season. These games don't matter. We're all waiting. We're just kind of banking and waiting for the playoffs, right? I'm always saying this. These regular season games, a lot of people put a lot of stock into them, but they don't matter, right? We could just skip the regular season and just get to the playoffs, and that's where that's where basketball really happens. It's like hockey. No, if anything, it is the quintessential championship hangover loss. In that, it's like absolutely a focus thing. This team was like, they came into this game thinking it's the Warriors. We don't have to really exert that much effort. And then Steph was like, I'm Steph Curry. I'm
Steph Curry.
I'm still Steph Curry. And it is incredible. I don't think LeBron hates very many people, but I don't think that LeBron James likes Stephen Curry. And I think that it really does get his goat whenever he loses to him. Because he came out yesterday against the Bucks and was like, I'm going to put the ball in the hole a lot from everywhere. I think that's all it was. I hope anyway.
Steph Curry is like seeing every like 90s R&B singer that didn't actually sing bust your team's ass.
Yeah.
And just like play really, really well and just not care about your feelings at all. Yeah. Smile at you, dap you up, give you a hug, a set of court, and then backstep, do 3 dribbles behind his back, and then pull up a fadeaway 3 on your biggest player. What? Like madness.
I have not. Steph Curry exhilarates me when he gets into that zone in a way that, like, the only other time I've really experienced that is reliving, and I'm so sorry, Ka, when
don't you say Reggie Miller?
Reggie Miller. Like, that is like, it's so cold and it's so good, and it's irresistible to hate in a way. Because like he's done it to my team too, where I just kind of watch it. I'm just like, I don't know what you could do. I don't know what you could do. All like the only thing that can happen is that he starts missing shots, and then sometimes he just doesn't. And you're like, what are you gonna do? What can you do about that? What can you do about any of this?
The wildest thing. Go ahead. Finish your thought, John.
No, that was it. I have no idea what to do about it.
First of all, F Reggie Miller in his neck. I don't care what anybody says. I hate that man with every fiber of my being. There are very few people on this planet that I hate. F Reggie Miller. I've never wanted to strangle someone through a screen until I saw Reggie Miller just do us dirty in that way. Yes, choking.
Reggie Miller, come on corner 3.
Come on corner 3, and then I have 3 pointers for you, Reggie Miller. But I think that one of the interesting parts about Steph, and you nailed it, is, LeBron is the best player of our generation currently. I think he is. Like, he's just a physical manifestation of what basketball could possibly be in every form or fashion. Yeah. Steph Curry is magical. Like, it is nothing that I've ever seen in my whole life of seeing someone play basketball in this way, where he will shoot things and you're just like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, that's just this dumb basketball, and it works for you.
Yep. I don't think players... I don't think players ever wanted to be LeBron. And I say this because LeBron is such a physical specimen that it's like, if you're in high school, you're not going to be like, I'm just going to be LeBron. Because no, you're not. Shut up. You're not. You, like, those kids were like, I'm going to be Kobe. Right? Because like Kobe as just physically and as a mentality was, I think, more attainable than LeBron ever was, and continues to be. And then I think it went straight from Kobe to Steph, because I would argue that Steph and Clay have fundamentally changed the way that basketball works, such that there's an entire generation of kids that we will start to see come into the NBA starting this year that are like, I'm just going to jack the ball up as much as I can. all the time. And because I've trained to do this, it's going to work a lot. But I think that is going to be Steph Curry's longest lasting legacy, is that there's going to be a generation of players who are just trying to emulate him in a way that like variability, like it might not work. So it just won't work for every single player. But I think that's going to be super interesting to watch in the next couple of years.
You've seen the influence with, Harden didn't always play this way.
Yeah.
Dame Lillard didn't play this way for the first 5 years of his career.
Yeah.
And then he's shooting daggers from mid-court against Paul George, which is
they're bad shots though. It's a bad shot.
And Luka is the same way, taking a step back from the announcer's death. It's stuff that I don't think if Steph and Clay are raining threes and hitting these with consistency, obviously other players aren't looking at that as a viable strategy. They're looking at it who are these clowns? But it's you can practice it. If you practice it, you can get good at it. And I don't know. They really have changed the game.
Steph has changed the possibilities, which is a thing you don't hear often when you think about NBA players in general. He is going to be the player that's going to get the most people excited and the most young kids cut from their JV teams.
Yeah.
Because they're all going to be like, yo, I'm shooting from anywhere.
If anything, he's helping basketball. He's getting the bad ones out early.
Getting the bad ones out. That's true. A teaching moment. Thank you.
It's like natural selection, but for basketball players.
Steph Curry is the eraser of bad young players into the league. I mean, we again, it is a thing that we've never seen in this life, and I don't know if we're ever going to see someone in the next couple of years be as prolific as he is with, how smartly he plays the game, and being able to do that kind of stuff. Go ahead.
Did y'all see that story that was like he can in one timeout bring his heart rate to below 80 beats per minute?
What?
Like over the course of one timeout?
What?
No. The way that he trains, yes, he can control his heart rate such that he brings it down to 80 BPM after running and being on the floor for 5 minutes. And his heart rate's at 120 or whatever.
There's nothing
and over the course of
do.
I
mean, look, if David Blaine can sit in a block of ice for 3 weeks, then Steph Curry can do that. I'm not mad at it.
I think Steph's got barbiturates in the mouth guard.
Oh, in the mouth guard. Oh, okay. That's why he got so mad that's why the NBA was so mad when he threw it that one time, because they were like, oh, they're gonna find out that there's drugs in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I do have one question for me, Nicholas Grayson, and that question is, are you afraid of any team in the NBA right now? And I'm going to take this one. I'm going to answer this one. No, I'm not.
As a Laker fan,
I'm not. Yeah, as a Laker fan, I'm not afraid of any team in the National Basketball Association right now. I don't think anyone. Alex Caruso is the second best 3-point shooter in the National Basketball Association right now. I am not afraid. Yes. He's the second highest 3-point percentage in the league.
What kind of reverse reparations is this?
Yeah.
What is this? What do you mean?
I am not afraid.
Whatever the percentage is, what do your eyeballs tell you about Alex Caruso? I just need
the Alex Caruso was the guy who didn't get picked to be an extra in White Man Can't Joke.
Yeah.
It's
like he was sitting on the side like, yo, me. Can I get on stage? And everybody was like, really?
Everyone's like, next to Woody Harrelson, you're not believable. And people are like, whoa. Anyway.
Oh my God. I love how Nikki was just like, no one can defeat us. I love how that was like the actual thing. Looking at the schedule for next week and some upcoming games I think are going to be actually interesting. Rockets and Mavs are going to be playing soon. We're recording this on a Friday. They're going to be playing on Saturday. So that's going to be an interesting matchup now that they've been those trades and seeing how those kinds of things kind of work themselves into alignment. Of course, Warriors and Jazz are going to be playing also on that day, which I think is going to be a pretty good game for sure, because those teams have been kind of established at this point. And on Sunday of this week, I think the premier matchup is probably going to be the Hawks-Bucks, which I think is going to be a pretty fun game.
That's gonna be a fun game, but that's a bad Sunday slate.
It's a terrible Sunday slate.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the whole thing. It's Raptors Pacers.
They're going against the championship games in the NFL, so it's
true.
That's true. Okay, so they're burying these games on purpose then.
Yeah, they're burying them.
Yeah, it's Raptors, Pacers, Thunder, Clippers, Hornets, Magic, Cavs, Celtics, Hawks, Bucks, Wizards, Spurs, and then Knicks, Blazers. Can you imagine watching 48 minutes of the Wizards and the Spurs?
No.
Who do the Wizards even have? What do you call
Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, but I don't even count. Russ is gone. Russ isn't in the league anymore. He's on the Wizards.
They've got okay. Listen, I think I'm with you on this. I think Russell Westbrook is gonna need to like take a year off, like Carmelo did. Yeah. He's gonna have to come back to he's gonna go back to the Jazz or some shit, and he's gonna like come off the bench for the Jazz, like completely revitalizing the way he plays in his career. But like Russell Westbrook needs to like take a year off.
Russell Westbrook needs a jump shot. That's what Russell Westbrook needs.
That's what he's going to do over the course of the year off.
He needs a set shot. He needs to become an old man. He needs a set shot. And he needs to stop trying to jump over everybody because it's only going to last him for another year.
He can't do it anymore. Yeah. Like his bones are going to shatter.
Next year, he should come off the bench in relief for LaMelo Ball. That's what I thought.
Damn.
No, I mean, like, listen, like
that would be good.
I'm just saying, if you want to train a triple-double machine, Westbrook coming in your locker room may not be the worst thing to do.
He will be on the Shanghai Dragons before he does that.
I agree. He's a starter for life or bust.
His ego is way too big to have. He needs to have that Marbury moment.
That's what I thought about Carmelo, though, too. And I think like it took people being like, no,
this guy's over, right?
Yeah, for him to be like, all right, bet, like I guess I'll work on it.
Well, here's the last point on that, and I think that this is the crux of the like I'm always going to be a starter conversation. Is your body is going to tell you you're not a starter first. Your mind will then be the thing that kicks in afterwards. And Melo, sadly, didn't. The thing about Melo was Melo always had a game that was useful for numerous errors.
Right.
Westbrook's body is just, I'm going to throw it at the ball and throw my body at the basket as hard as I can. And if you're in the way, you messed up. And we've seen that happen with so many high flyers over the year. Even Jordan, once he got his turnaround jumper, that was the thing that actually kept him in the league. Besides him also, making sure that everybody else hated him and that they wanted him to die. But yeah. I think that, we have a lot of stuff to talk about next week. I think that there's going to be even more games to kind of go over and poke at. Actually, we should figure out a way to have folks ask us some questions from the community. And send us
if
some
only
topics.
We had a Discord channel. Hold on, we do. If you go to fanbite.casa, we have the podcast questions channel. And just make sure that you head your question with corner 3 at the beginning of it, so we can see it and pull it because it's
Nikki.
What?
Nikki?
What
about this first? Do they really need to create a subject line if they ask about basketball? Do you think like the fan width?
That's just listen. Hey, that's the way.
You think Bradley Beal needs to find a way out of the Washington Wizards? And fan width's like, I don't know what to do with this question.
Listen, that's the way.
When we do our flip it and reverse it episode, where we all jump on each other to do that, we'll have that be the case. So I just want to see Merritt and everybody else dig into the conversations about like what this thing is.
Ask about who. I don't know. I can't even come up with a player.
I love it. That's actually going to be a really fun show when we pitch that to each other. But everybody, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Fanbite.casa. Make sure you're going over there asking us some questions about the show. Let us know what you think about how we're doing and get involved with the show there. We'll be back next week with more Corner 3. Again, thank you to everyone who's been hanging out and listening to the show. Again, leave us a wonderful review on Apple Podcasts so that we can get bigger and let other people know that we want Mike Breen on the show so we can talk to him about video games and basketball and all the stuff in between. So until next week, we will say peace out and we're out of here and we'll see you soon.
Deuces.
Bye.